Today we are going to go and understand about NumPy. So what is NumPy? What is use of NumPy and how NumPy is used to manage efficiently a large amounts of data and everything. So NumPy is a library in Python. So this is a library in Python. This is a third-party library. So it was not a part of uh, installation. Whenever you install Python, it was not part of this predefined packages, pre-built packages. Rather, it was a third-party package. You need to do it separately, and you can use something known as pip, which is a utility. Using that pip, you need to install this NumPy. Now, after this, so why this NumPy is used and what is this NumPy? So basically, NumPy is a third-party library which I told you, and this especially works with arrays. So when I say arrays, it works with multi-dimensional data structures. So what do you mean by multi-dimensional data structures? For example, if you are dealing with data which has multiple rows, multiple columns, and those were called as dimensions actually. Whenever you are dealing with data with many rows, many columns, those will be called as dimensions as well. So when you want to store that kind of data in a multi-dimension using arrays, you can use NumPy library. So that's one of the thing. Next, it is used to handle large amounts of numerical data. So NumPy is used to store large amounts of numerical data. So it is storing large amount of numerical data efficiently. So now, what do you mean by storing large amounts of numerical data? So let's say, as we discussed that this multi-dimensional data structures, these multi-dimensional data structures are something which are very crucial in storing the data which actually has multiple rows and multiple columns. Now, whenever you are dealing with such data, basically what usually happens, the collections of data wherever each and every element is identified using multiple coordinates. Now, for example, let's say we are going to understand about this multi-dimensional data later on. So as of now, just understand there are different dimensions of data. That one of it is one-dimensional data, two-dimensional data, three-dimensional data. So one-dimensional data is nothing but it is a simple list or a vector. You can call it as a vector. So let me take it here. Let me erase it here. So what is the multidimensional data? Multidimensional data structures. What they actually do? They actually refers to collections of data where each element is identified using multiple indices or coordinates. Okay, each element is this is an organized collection. This is organized collections of data where each element is identified using multiple indices or coordinates. Now, identified. This is identified using multiple indices or coordinates. Now, what do you mean by this? So as I told you, the data is stored in rows, columns, and even more, if you go to higher dimensions, so the data is stored in form of grids. So why the data is stored in grids? To perform complex calculations. Okay, complex mathematical and computational tasks. So this is used to store which one? The multidimensional data structures actually tries to store the organized collections of data, and how that each and every element of that collection is identified. It is identified using multiple indices or multiple coordinates. And what this data which I was talking about, that will be stored in form of rows, columns, and if you go into this, rows and columns can be referred as two-dimensional data. Whereas if there are data points which are, if you want to represent your data not only in two dimension, let's say in three dimensions or any other dimension, then you want to represent it using a data structures, then that data will be stored in some form known as grids. Why the data is stored here? To perform complex mathematical and computational tasks. Now, how you are going to represent those data structures using arrays? Now, here, as we discussed, rows and columns, this is an organized data, and rows and columns here represent two-dimensional data. Now, there is something known as one-dimensional, three-dimensional, and n-dimensional as well. So if you want to discuss those things, so let's say if you want to discuss one-dimensional data, so this